All right, so our first question is, in what ways are the specifics of rowing, the technique, the boats, the teamwork required, metaphors for what the boys, particularly Joe, learn about life and friendship over the course of the novel? All right, so I'll go first. I personally think that the teamwork itself, the teamwork part plays a key role in the novel, one of the central themes. For Joe, I think since he grew up, relying on himself because his mother died and his dad left him in Canada to basically fight for himself, he started to build walls around himself to basically block out anyone else, and he started to believe that it was just him. He was the only one in it for him, and he wouldn't let himself get close to anyone else. So he would. So I feel like it affected his teamwork, affected his career in rowing, because as he learned to break down those walls and make more relationships and friendships, he also got better at rowing itself. Not a coincidence that he got better because he was making friends. So because rowing is basically centralized around teamwork. It's not just a one-person sport. So once they started to learn to play for each other instead of for just themselves, they got better as a team.
I really just want to agree with what Luis said. That as a child, he was always dependent on himself and not really with a team. And as he matured, in that sense, he had to realize that teamwork would really elevate his game at rowing and even build friendships that would last for life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. As a kid, his father left him twice. Once he left him with his uncle, and then the second time he left him all alone. And in that period, the second time he was left alone, he became very self-sufficient. And it's not a bad thing to be self-sufficient to a point, but there is a point where you become too self-sufficient and teamwork and you just isn't compatible. And he wasn't able to really trust anyone, any of his teammates, and he wasn't able to participate in anything that required team when he first came into college. So I think that as the years went by and as him and his teammates grew closer, he not only grew as a rower, but he grew as a person, and you can just see that in the different aspects of the book. And in fact, Joe and one of his friends, they're still friends. Almost for over 60 years after the rowing team, they're still friends. Now.
No, yeah, I agree. So
it's just, it's crazy.
I feel like the chemistry also gets better as they go along, and all of us play sports. So team sports, not just individual. So I think we all understand, what it means to be part of a team. Mm-hmm. Finn, you play soccer, right? So explain, it's not just you out there. There's 10 other people on that field.
It's all of us,
especially in soccer too.
Yeah,
pass the ball.
It's a big field. Yeah. So basically, you could be in however strong, fast you want, but if you're not well working with a team, then that sport's simply not for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's we, not me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no I in team.
I feel like when Joe was a kid, he was abandoned by his parents, so he learned to be really independent and stuff. And he used this, when he was on the team, there were certain parts of the book where it showed, but when they were rowing, he couldn't keep the stroke with everyone else, and he was messing the team up. And that was his independence. He was too independent, and he couldn't learn, for a while to be part of the team. But as he grew with his relationships on the team, he started to get in sync with everyone.
Yeah, after a while, their time started to get better, and they started to roll in sync, completely in sync, all at the same time.
Yeah.
And crazy thing is
once he started to really be a team player, I feel they really improved.
Yeah, they start to bond more. And, it's important not that they bonded or got along while they were rowing, but also off the water.
Yeah.
Court field. they're also really good friends, you know. So that also helps out.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah, I mean,
course.
with good talent and good chemistry, you know, throughout your whole team, it's really hard to lose.
Yeah.
And they beat those damn Nazis. And got them out of here.
So our second question is: rowing is a sport that's heavily affected by the weather, from heat waves to blizzards to strong winds. Brown uses historical weather conditions to add context to various races. In what ways does the weather he describes mirror the character's internal thoughts or feelings? So I feel like the weather, like when it's colder, or like you know in the middle of winter, is symbolic of how like it makes the athletes work harder. You know, it's harder to you know obviously row in cold weather than it is in the middle of summer. So it's not just like you know also not just physically like what they're doing, but also mentally. It's a mental battle as well because like they have to believe that they can do it, they can fight, and part of that is again going back to teamwork. You know, knowing you're not just the only guy on the team, so like you have you know other guys to depend on. Like you got to be able to lean on your teammates. That's a really important part of rowing.
Yeah, knowing that your teammates have your back makes you know rowing or you know whether it's rowing or playing basketball or playing soccer or playing baseball, it makes whatever you're doing that includes teamwork. It makes it that much easier, no matter what the you know weather you know what the circumstances are. It just makes it easier having teammates, and also I think that the weather affected the whole team. I think it affected them positively because it ended up driving them and pushing them and making them have to go the extra mile and making them have to try that much harder to succeed. And there's a big difference from you know rowing in Washington than anywhere else because of how it's like crazy the weather is up there. So it's just really I think that's one of the many factors that kind of pushed the Washington row team over the edge and gave them you know the ability to be as successful in the Olympics as they were.
I mean, I really feel like that the weather made them mentally tough, not even physically in a sense, because it's a lot easier to quit than to try even harder. But with your teammates pushing you and pushing you, that really gives you like a confidence boost as well.
Yeah, motivation.
Yeah, motivation.
Because they're also there to help you out. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like with that, I mean, and plus like it's boosting like, you know, your confidence, everything in your teammates. So when you have a team behind you, it's really hard to fail.
And like you guys are, and like in this case, they're all in the same boat, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Finn, you anything else to say?
I mean, like, you know, I completely agree with everyone that, like, the colder weather and, like, the tough conditions, you know, helped the team overcome everything that they've gone through and helped them get into sync for the Summer Olympics in Germany. And I really feel like, you know, that's the main reason they're champions, you know? So, yeah.
All right, that's all we got.
That's it for today.
This
See you
is
next
our
time
podcast.
from
Thank you for
ESPN.
Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you for listening.
Please subscribe, like, and comment
Yes.
for more videos.